Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the June 2024 CEC 20 meeting. Joyce, can you take attendance, roll call attendance, please?
Okay, we're gonna start CEC 20 June 2024 monthly meeting. President Steve Stowe,
Here.
First Vice President John, Second Vice President Elizabeth. Okay, Recording Secretary Joyce here. Treasurer Mei Fan Chen. You see her online? Okay. Now we have Wenmin Chen. Yeah. Yanqing Chen. Maya. Anyone see Maya online yet? Tamalas.
Actually, I'll be late.
Okay. Kevin out on the way. Now I have Fabiola. Now I have Sabrina here. Thank you. So we have 5 in person so far. Yeah, we have 5 in person so far. So we haven't made a quorum. We cannot vote. Yeah, Fortress.
Thanks, Joyce. We'll just keep an eye on I think a number of members are just running late. We'll keep an eye on that as they get here. Before we begin the meeting, we just want to introduce our interpretation services. As always at our CEC 20 meetings, we have interpretation in Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish. For anyone who wishes to join the meeting on one of the interpretation lines, you should see the names of those interpreters on the participant list, and those interpreters will now give their instructions if you would like to use their services. Could our Arabic interpreter please introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. السيدات والسادة، للمشاركة في فعالية هذا الحوار يرجى الاتصال بالرقم 347-966-4114، ويرجى بعد ذلك إدخال الرقم الآتي وهو 684-006-024، ويتبع ذلك برقم الهاشتاج أو رقم الشباك. الرقم مرة أخرى هو 347-966-4114، ويتبع ذلك بالرقم المدخل وهو 684-006-024، ويتبع ذلك الرقم برمز الشباك أو الهاشتاج. شكرا لكم ونتمنى لكم ليلة يوم سعيدا. Arabic announcement has concluded. Thank you.
Thank you. Could our Mandarin interpreter please introduce yourself?
晚上好，各位。今天我们的会议有提供国语的翻译服务，如果你需要国语翻译的服务，可以请拨打电话347-966-4114，ID 是618-616-518。重复一次，今天的会议有提供国语的翻译服务，请拨打电话347-966-4114，ID 是618-616-518，谢谢。I finished my announcement. Thank you.
Thank you. And could our Spanish interpreter please introduce yourself?
Buenas noches a todos. Si desea servicios de interpretación en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de conferencia 833-563-028, símbolo numeral. Le repito, si desea interpretación en español, por favor, marque desde su teléfono al 347-966-4114 e ingrese el código de conferencia 833-563-028, símbolo numeral. Si desea escuchar el audio en español, pero desea permanecer en esta sala virtual para ver la reunión desde su computadora, por favor recuerde mantener el micrófono de todos sus dispositivos en silencio para evitar el ruido de fondo y así garantizar la calidad de sonido para todos los participantes en la línea de interpretación. Esta información será publicada periódicamente en la casilla de diálogos. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. As a reminder to anyone speaking tonight, please remember that we have interpretation and try to speak slower than you might normally speak to allow the interpreters to keep up. We are here at PS 104, PSIS 104. The first, before we get to the agenda of the meeting, we'll first have an introduction from the PSIS 104. So color guard, whenever you are ready, and let's make sure we can get you on camera if possible. That was wonderful performance by the color guard here at PSIS 104. Thank you very much. Kevin, when you are ready, can you share the agenda? Or I can do it if you need me to. Thank you. So our agenda for tonight's meeting, we're going to begin with report from the superintendent. He's got contracts for excellence report. Then we'll have a celebration of the District 20 STEAM initiative with Deputy Superintendent Dr. Joseph O'Brien. We'll have a vote on the annual superintendent evaluation. Report of council president. Approval of the minutes, and then our public speaking session. As a reminder for the public speaking session, if you'd like to sign up to speak, you can do so either by signing up in person on the form at the front of the auditorium, or you can sign up online using the link that's been provided in the chat. Okay. And without further ado, let's go to superintendent.
I'll share my screen and so I'm just waiting for the screen to come up. There we go. And so good evening, District 20, Community Education Council. My name is David Preto. I'm the superintendent of District 20. And this will begin my report for June. So first I want to wish everyone a happy Pride Month. I also want to wish everyone a happy Caribbean American Month. I want to wish all of our community members who celebrated Shabbat. I want to wish all the fathers, this Sunday is Father's Day, so I want to wish everyone a Father's Day. I want to wish all of our community who's celebrating Eid al-Adha. We're a happy and celebratory Eid, and also want to celebrate next Wednesday is Juneteenth. And just for context, added just a little description of what Juneteenth celebrates, which honors the date June 19th, 1865, when the last Confederate community of enslaved Americans in Galveston, Texas, received word that they had been freed from bondage. I'm going to skip ahead to, we'll do this afterwards. And this evening, I will be delivering the presentation on fiscal year 2025 contracts for excellence and class size proposed plan by the Department of Education. I just want to make sure that this is being recorded. Being recorded, right? Yeah. So good evening. I want to thank everyone for allowing me time on the schedule to engage on this important item. This evening, I am joined by our budget matter expert, Norlin Hamilton, who's Senior Grants Officer for District 20. and she supports our schools with budget and grant-related matters. I'm also joined by Sylvia Jasinski, who will be our monitor for any dialogue placed in the chat. Today, we'll share our plan for state contracts for excellence funding, also known as C4E, and our proposed class size reduction plan, a newer part of the contracts for excellence process. I'll review each topic and then provide the process for public comment on each. Again, thank you for allowing me the time on the agenda, and we'll proceed with the presentation. Today, I'll discuss two topics for the upcoming 2024-2025 school year. I'll provide an overview of the funding, share dollar amounts allocated to the Department of Education, and how the funding will be allocated to schools and imposed restrictions of how some funds are spent. At the end of each topic, we will share how you can provide comments on what I have presented. The two topics I'll discuss tonight are states contracts for excellence, or C4E, and class size. The state C4E presentation is being recorded, and any feedback or public comments related to C4E will be submitted on your behalf. You may also share feedback or public comment on information shared in this presentation by using the designated email address noted after each topic we will cover. I'll point out the designated email address at the conclusion of each topic. Our New York City Public Schools team will be taking public comments received into consideration in the coming weeks in alignment with the public process. So the first topic being presented today, contracts for excellence, is also commonly referred to as C4E. And first, let me give some background on contracts for excellence. C4E legislation was established as part of the 2007-2008 enacted state budget under foundation aid and requires that a portion of foundation aid be used for specific restricted purposes. C4E requires that funding be allocated towards specific programs that raise the achievement of the students with the greatest educational need, including, but not limited to, those students with limited English proficiency, students in poverty, and students with disabilities. We are required by state law to annually develop, through a public process, a citywide contract for excellence and community school district contract for excellence. The public process is how parents, teachers, and other school community members and interested parties provide input about the citywide and community school district C4Es and about the allocation of C4E funding in their schools. Our public process includes this meeting, as well as the other meetings that superintendents will be conducting across the city with their respective CECs, and 5 borough hearings that will also be happening during this period of time. Although the C4E process is not new, we have submitted a C4E plan since 2007-2008. Under recent changes to state law, the timeline for the public process, including the district C4E presentations, has changed. We are now required to start the process no later than 30 days after the enactment of a state budget, and we are also required to provide notice of the public process 15 days prior to the first public hearing. State law requires that community school district contracts for excellence be presented by superintendents at CEC meetings to enable public comment on those C4E plans. To that end, we will be recording all comments made at this meeting. This important process allows families and community members an opportunity to provide input about how their schools are funded. It is an essential element in the C4E plan that the New York City Public Schools submits to the state, which the state must approve in order for the New York City Public Schools to receive C4E funding. Funding must be spent only within the following initiatives. For illustration, examples of programs by initiative subject to state ed approval are included below. For example, additional instructional time or time on task, which an example of this is extended school day or year initiatives. Model programs for multilingual learners. An example would be expansion of bilingual resource materials in libraries. Full day pre-kindergarten and kindergarten. Example would be adding classes or additional staff and or costs related to implementing full day pre-K, 4K. Class size reduction. For an example would be hiring and placing additional teachers in the classroom to reduce the student-teacher ratio. teacher and principal quality initiatives, such as the creation of a non-cash incentive program to encourage high-quality teachers to teach in high-needs areas, middle or high school restructuring, such as expanding participation in advanced placement programs. And additionally, the State Ed Commissioner may authorize districts to implement experimental programs. Such authorization must be granted in advance of implementation. And more information about eligible uses and requirements may be found at the NYSED website. Each year, New York State Education Department sets the New York City Public Schools C4E amount based on the annual increase in foundation aid in excess of 3%. So in fiscal year 2025, the amount of funding we must designate towards C4E is increasing by 45 million to 803 million citywide. It's also important to note that there has been a $183 million of C4E embedded in Fair Student funding since 2007 and 2008. In the upcoming school year, this funding will continue to be a part of Fair Student funding. However, it will be identified as C4E and allocated separately from Fair Student funding. Additionally, it will be restricted to be used for teacher salaries only to ensure full utilization. This is not a new use of the allocation. It has always been assumed that C4E embedded in Fair Student funding supported teacher salaries. This just demonstrates that more clearly. Were this funding to be used for another purpose, the DOE would not be able to continue funding all schools at 100% Fair Student funding. There is an additional increase in foundation aid of $137 million that is planned to be allocated to support schools in meeting the state's class size reduction mandate and may also be subject to C4E. So now the breakdown in C4E funding. We categorize C4E allocations as discretionary or targeted. Discretionary means that schools may use C4E funding in any eligible way that best meets the needs of their students. Targeted means that C4E is being used to support a specific program, and schools must use C4E funding in support of that program. Of the $803 million, $487 million of it will be allocated as discretionary C4E, and $316 million will be allocated as targeted. The $316 million of targeted programs now includes $183 million of Fair Student funding to be used towards teacher salaries, $87 million for integrated co-teaching classrooms or ICT, $30 million for academic summer programming, $9 million for full day pre-K, and $7 million for autism spectrum disorder classrooms or ASD. This is a closer look at the citywide proposed allocations. Combined discretionary funding, existing, which is 55.07% on the chart, and new, which is 5.61% on the chart, makes up a total of 60.68% of the proposed allocation. Targeted allocations make up 39.32%, with the greatest share of that being attributable to Fair Student funding at 22.78%. Integrated co-teaching classrooms, summer programming, full day pre-K, and autism spectrum disorder classrooms make up the remaining 16.55% combined. This is a breakdown of the proposed District 20 specific allocations. So in District 20, the combined discretionary funding, existing, which is 56.6%, and new, which is 6.59%, makes up approximately 64% overall of the proposed allocation across D20 schools being allocated for discretionary funding. Targeted allocations make up approximately 36%, with the greatest share of that being attributable to Fair Student funding at 27.87%. ICT co-teaching classrooms, summer programming, and full day pre-K make up about 7.9% combined. We will take public feedback into account in the coming weeks as we continue to work toward complying with this mandate. The deadline for submitting public comment will be June 24th, 2024. Please share your comments and feedback by using the C4E email address you see on the screen. And Sylvia, if you could drop the email address into the chat. Now, we are moving to the second major topic. We already discussed the C4E funding stream. Now I'll wrap up by discussing the class size reduction plan. In September 2022, Governor Hochul enacted Chapter 556 of the laws of 2022, which requires the New York City Public School District to create a 5-year class size reduction plan for all New York City K-12 community districts and high schools. Chapter 556 sets forth requirements that apply only to the New York City School District, including new class size caps for all public K-12 community district and high schools, a class size reduction plan, which must be approved by the United Federation of Teachers, or UFT, and the Council of School Supervisors and Administrators, or CSA. These are the unions representing New York City school district teachers and principals, respectively, and submitted as part of the Contract for Excellence. A prescribed timeline for the public process for the development, posting, and submission of the Contracts for Excellence. Annual implementation reports on the status of the class size reduction plan. Penalties in the form of reduced state funding if adequate progress to reduce class size is not made. The law imposes specific class size caps within New York City School District for the first time. Prior legislation required a plan to reduce average class sizes and did not set forth specific average class size caps. Class size caps had previously been set subject to collective bargaining agreements between New York City Public Schools and the UFT and could be exceeded in certain circumstances. As a reminder, the law prescribes specific class size caps of 20 students in grades K through 3, 23 students in 4 through 8, and 25 students in grades 9 to 12, and 40 students in physical education and performing groups classes across all grades. On May 7th, New York City Public Schools released a draft version of the class size reduction plan for the 24-25 school year. As a reminder, this plan must be signed off on by the United Federation of Teachers, the Council for School Supervisors and Administrators, in addition to New York City Public Schools. The posted version has not yet been signed off on by the UFT or CSA. As noted in the plan itself, New York City Public Schools is currently in compliance with the law for the 2023-2024 school year. New York City Public Schools anticipates continuing to be in compliance for the 24-25 school year and has named policy changes in the plan that will ensure we will meet the compliance target of 40% for the 24-25 school year. The draft plan includes specific actions for schools, along with a breadth of commitments to implementation that we are undertaking across the New York City Public Schools central offices, alongside the School Construction Authority, which I will discuss in more detail in the next slide. The public is able to provide feedback on the draft plan via this process. The email to share feedback is in the final slide of this section. So now I'll highlight some components of the draft plan. At the start of the draft plan, we highlight critical data points regarding current compliance across the city. Our compliance rate for school year 2023-2024 is 40%. The required benchmark for this school year is 20%. The changes proposed in the plan, we believe, will ensure that we continue to meet the benchmark for school year 24-25 of 40%. Data shows that the districts with the greatest percentage of classes at or below the class size caps are in District 23, Ocean Hill, Brownsville, District 7, Mott Haven and Melrose in the Bronx, and District 16, Stuyvesant Heights and Crown Heights in Brooklyn. Districts 26, Bayside and Glen Oaks in Queens, District 28, Forest Hills and Jamaica Hills in Queens, and District 31, the island of Staten Island, have the lowest percentage of classes at or below the class size caps. The Bronx is the most compliant borough with 54% compliance, while Staten Island is the least compliant at 24%. Our highest need quartile of schools are 62% compliant. Our lowest need quartiles of schools are 25% compliant. We continue to expect to need 10 to 12,000 teachers, of which 3,000 to 4,000 would be special education. Next, I'll provide an overview of key components of the plan. The draft plan includes the development of district-level targets for all districts across the city. All superintendents of schools covered by the law will be asked to improve compliance across their district by 3%. This includes an accompanying menu of possible options that superintendents and teams can work with schools to implement and include strategies like repurposing space, maximizing teacher programming, fully programming existing instructional space, reallocating funding to support class size reduction, utilizing multi-session programming, and considering virtual learning as a strategy. This approach allows New York City Public Schools to drive compliance at a citywide scale with the flexibility for superintendents and schools to determine the best path forward for their school and community context. The draft plan also outlines the addition of funding for class size, including an additional $45 million in C4E funds, which can be used for class size or any other eligible purposes, and an additional $137 million that schools may only be used for class size, but may also be subject to C4E. The draft plan also outlines a significant effort around teacher recruitment and hiring. These action items include providing a robust package of hiring resources to schools, including an earlier application window for hiring teachers in high-need schools, peer recruiters, school tours for prospective candidates in the Bronx, and increasing the number of early recruitment stipends. New York City Public Schools also commits to expanding pathways to current New York City Public School students to become teachers with work within the Office of Student Pathways and in supporting paraprofessionals and teachers' aides in becoming teachers. New York City also outlines its commitments around capital planning with the School Construction Authority to ensure that we are working collectively to increase the number of available seats where there are needs. Included in the report is a table that illustrates the timing and school district impacts for 27,000 seats coming online from the previous capital plan, as well as a detailed list of which schools will be positively impacted by the new construction. The class size working group met throughout most of 2023 to deeply understand the law and make recommendations to the chancellor to consider as New York City Public Schools works to implement the law. The draft plan does act on many of the class size working group's recommendations, including the following recommendations from each committee. From the enrollment and space and capital planning committees, relevant New York City Public Schools divisions should work together with the School Construction Authority on a unified class size plan. Develop and implement an information gathering survey. New York City Public Schools should develop a plan that includes repurposing and maximizing existing school space. Recognize the need for more school space and capital construction. Improve strategies to identify sites for schools and expand classroom space. From the Hiring and Staffing Subcommittee. Beginning in the 2023-2024 school year, the working group recommends prioritizing hiring teachers with an earlier application window for higher need schools that have class sizes above the mandated limits located in the harder to staff districts. Create a formalized process for human resources in the New York City Public Schools to perform exit interviews. Collaborate with SUNY, CUNY, and regional universities to help connect New York City Public Schools with undergraduates. Work with current New York City Public School students and graduates to develop pathways to become teachers. Build and strengthen pipelines for paraprofessional and teacher aides to become teachers. And finally, from the Budget and Finance Committee. New York City Public Schools should engage in modeling that does not just consider overall expense, but the ability for a wide range of types of schools to meet costs. Aggressively pursue new opportunities for potential funding from New York State and federal sources, including New York City Public Schools increasing their advocacy for these funds. As a reminder, this is a draft version, that has not yet been signed off on by the United Federation of Teachers or the Council for School Supervisors and Administrators, who are required to sign off on our final plan. I'll now share the process for providing feedback on the draft class size reduction plan on the following slide. We'll consider all feedback received on the proposed plan during the public comment process. The deadline for submitting public comment will be June 24th, 2024. Those who wish to provide feedback may submit their comments by email to classsize@schools.nyc.gov. The moderator will pop the email address into the chat. This will conclude the presentation. Please be mindful of all the email addresses provided for public comment for each section. And thank you for your time. I will let you return to your very important end of year meeting agenda, but before I do, I want to thank this community for all the hard work and the collaboration this year. I wish you all a wonderful summer and look forward to a successful 2024-2025 school year.
Thanks, David. We talked about it a lot, but I just want to point out a number of things. David, could you go to the slide that had the different allowable expenses, or sorry, the different expenditure areas?
This one?
It was toward the beginning of the presentation. I think it might be slide 362. Yeah, these are all the things that C4E money can be spent on, right?
Yes.
And I'm not trying to lead anything here, but of all of these, I know that class size reduction, there is a penalty if this DOE public schools doesn't meet that. Is there a penalty for any of these other categories? And I don't think there is. Can you just and maybe you don't know, but I don't believe there is. And
I'm not aware of a penalty, but Norland
Yeah.
Hamilton's on the line.
Okay.
And she might be able to confirm that. Norland, are you aware of any penalties for not utilizing the C4E funds on any of the other allowable categories?
Not necessarily penalties, but if a school, for example, states that they are going to use the funds within these categories, they should be able to show that that's where the money is being used. If not, then the state has the authority to disallow any expenditures within those categories.
I heard. I guess
You
my
able to
point,
hear
and
me?
I'll
I'm
just
sorry,
I'll
were
just
you
leave it
able
at
to hear
this.
me?
Schools have to spend almost all of their money, discretionary money, on class size reduction over the next few years. And I just want parents, community members to be aware of this. You're looking at a list here of C4E money traditionally could be spent on lots of different things. You can bet that if there's a financial penalty for not meeting the class size law, schools are going to be steering all their discretionary funding to this class size law over the next few years. And I also want to take this opportunity. We don't have to debate the merits of the law. The CEC has a position on the law. For parents out there, any parents who might be on your SLT, I know I've talked to several schools. I've seen SLT meeting minutes that show the impact of the class size law on schools. That is starting to be reported. And in many cases, it's not good. High schools, the overcrowded high schools are the most hard hit, but I think in District 20, we have a lot of middle schools and elementary schools that will feel the impact of this law. And I just encourage any parent to go to their SLT meeting, go to their principal and ask them what the impact of the law will be, because it's got to we've come to the point when principals know they have the information. The New York City Public Schools provided a list of every school in the city and their compliance with the cap. In this school we're sitting in right now, PSIS 104, 154 classes or sections are over the cap. Only 13 are under the cap. So I just want that to sink in to everyone, and think about that in buildings like the one we're sitting in right now that are already space constrained, the principal and the SLT are going to have to make tough decisions about where do they cut? Do they cut specialty classes? Do they cut performing arts rooms? Every available specialty classroom, cluster room, if you will be used. And the impact on schools. And then the ultimate impact is going to be if they have to cap enrollment, and that will happen in a lot of cases, probably at schools like 104. Superintendent Preto mentioned one of the proposals is for virtual learning. I don't think any of us want to go back to that point. So it's just a matter of now the law is here, it's being implemented. I encourage everyone, every parent, to be aware of the impact it will have on your school. Go to your SLT, ask your principal, and if you're not happy with it, share that with your elected officials. That's my only comment on this, which otherwise, CEC members, does anyone have questions for Superintendent Preto on the C4E or the class size plan?
Another parent asked me, is it because of the class size law reduction that they're gonna do away with the regents requirement?
To my understanding, the regents requirement and the class size law legislation are related. Orland, do you know of any connection between decisions and the class size law legislation?
No, I have,
No, I'm not aware of any connection.
I haven't heard of any
Haven't heard
relation, to the region. But
We can, this is being recorded.
Okay, and with summer school, will they have a class size cap? If the kids have to go to summer school for their educational, needs?
Good question.
That's a good question. We'll take that back. What I do know about summer school is that summer school is mandated for students whose promotion is in doubt and need to attend summer in order to be promoted. And the remaining portion of students who attend summer school is an option. It's not a requirement or a mandate. But I can take the rest of that question back.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question in regards to C4. Is 3K included? If so, how much funding are they getting? Also, can you speak on the 14% cut for the budget for 3K and 3K is 2025?
So for the first question, in this proposal, are you asking for District 20 or citywide? So in District 20, the amount of money that's being allocated for full day pre-K is $131,684, which is 0.27% of the overall allocation in the district.
Is 3K included or that's funded by something else?
The only reference I saw to pre-K was to 4K, but I can get back to you on whether or not 3K is looped in. Typically in
3K
pre-K
is
programs that are located in community schools as well as in our centers, they definitely have 4K. Not every single one of them has a 3K.
3K is a different funding source and it's handled differently. It's not part of the contract.
We'd have to
for
take that back.
excellence.
Norland, can you speak on this? I don't think that this is part of C3, but you know better than I would.
3K, I'm sorry, you weren't able to hear me. 3K is handled differently. It's a totally separate allocation and it's not part of the contract for excellence. Were you able to hear me?
Yes, we could hear you, Nor.
I'm sorry, was there another question? I didn't hear the second part of the question.
Since from CEC members at this point of the meeting, yeah. Anyone else have a question? Any other CEC members have a question for Superintendent? And any CEC members online like to ask Superintendent Preto a question about his presentation just now?
Actually, with the virtual learning, are you gonna use real teachers? Are you gonna think about using like AI to be teaching the students with that?
So in the upcoming school year, every superintendent, including me, has a target of 3% overall across the district reduction of classrooms that are out of compliance with the class size law. The list of options that are located in the approved plan are all options. Not one of them is a requirement to use. So, in the district, we would look across schools to see what would be the most appropriate use of any one or a combination of those options, including repurposing space, using funds to target teacher salaries, and the other options as well. As so the short answer is too early to know.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we're good on that part of the meeting agenda. STEAM?
Great. So I'd like to
Preface this presentation with a note of celebration and gratitude on my part. So the District 20 STEAM initiative has been in place in District 20 for several years now. Prior to me coming on as superintendent, this was an initiative that was launched by Dr. Joseph O'Brien, who's the deputy superintendent, and has been a real highlight in the district in terms not just of the engagement of students across the entire district in STEAM learning and the engineering design process, but also a real celebration of the teacher expertise that lies within the district. So the last few presentations, we've talked a lot about NYC Reads and literacy teaching and the implementation of curriculum and teachers across K-8, really demonstrating their expertise in implementing a curriculum to meet the different needs of their children in alignment with the literacy shifts in New York City, the science of reading, and the expectations of New York State. I'm really excited this evening to celebrate a group of teachers in the district who have been engaged in the design and the delivery of professional development to their colleagues across the district that has resulted in students across our entire district being engaged in STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, architecture, or arts, depending on who you are, and math education. So I'm really excited to welcome up Dr. Joe O'Brien, the coordinator from our District 20 team, Dr. Hector Uribe, and the STEAM coaches of District 20. So I'm really excited to have them come up and hear from them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Preto. And good evening, Principal Gordon, President Stowe, members of the CEC, and good evening to all of you District 20 families, both here at the beautiful K104 auditorium and for those watching at home. My name is Dr. Joseph O'Brien, and I am so very proud to be your Deputy Community Superintendent. Tonight it's my great pleasure to welcome some truly amazing teachers from our district who have done so much for so many for so long. Our District 20 STEAM coaches. Ms. Marilla Deeb from PSIS 30, Ms. Serena Rodriguez from IS 936, Ms. Marissa Carter from PS 102, Ms. Diane Corrigan from PS 179, and Ms. Andrea Pizzamenti from PS 48. These fantastic teachers work tirelessly to ensure that high-quality STEAM instruction happens daily across our 41 schools, servicing 33,000 students who call District 20 home. When we began this journey 8 years ago, in 2016, we imagined a new way of learning about science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, with teachers training other teachers, sharing outstanding practices, cross-pollinating the best that we could do. It was unheard of then, and even rarer now. And I am certain that this fact has made all the difference. This unique cadre of outstanding teachers showcase the innovation, the verve, the thoughtfulness, and the creativity monthly, and collectively have changed the face of STEAM instruction in District 20. For over the past 8 years, District 20 has sought to identify authentic and meaningful ways for students to connect with their learning and to teach the types of skills that students will need in the 21st century. To note, there are 8th graders this year who have participated in 7 STEAM expos. For we have discovered that STEAM activities have aided in the crystallization of student learning. Too often, school leaders are bamboozled into thinking they need hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment or expensive pre-programmed robots to deliver 21st century STEAM instruction. However, the very opposite is true. More effective and focused instruction can be accomplished with a strong understanding of STEAM skills, a simple kit of toothpicks, some Scotch tape, and some fishing weights. But you know what? Each of our students possess the traits that make not only great mathematicians, engineers, artists, or scientists, but they truly understand that STEAM is not about easy answers, but disciplined revision, grit, and perseverance. It is the process that makes our students and their projects so very strong. There are so many people here today that could only make this possible, that need to be thanked. The district could never do this without you. However, I'd like to take some time today to thank and introduce someone very special to me and the district, Dr. Hector Uribe, who has worked closely in the background all this year and in years past to make these goals a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Hector Uribe to the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Good evening. My job is wonderful. I get to meet with 5 awesome STEAM teachers every month for a full day and plan activities to teach the STEAM teachers from 40 schools that they will bring back into the building and teach, have fun with their kids, come back to us, report, build some more. Then we have the STEAM Expo, we have the math games, and we have the science, it used to be called Science Olympiad. Now it's called the Science Showdown. Thank you. So I have a wonderful job, and I am going to introduce now the next person who is coming to the stage at this very moment. Why don't you? Okay.
I don't know which computers.
I don't know how to move this.
Kevin will get you guys. Don't worry about anything. Yeah.
So the next slide.
Yeah.
Okay. So our mission as District 20 STEAM coaches is to foster a collaborative professional learning environment where teachers come together to cultivate expertise in STEAM education in all District 20 schools. We are dedicated to supporting STEAM points with resources and strategies needed to inspire and prepare all students in District 20 to participate in STEAM projects, explorations, and community events.
Hi, everyone. I am Serena Rodriguez. It's been a pleasure to be one of the STEAM coaches for many years. One of the things I'd like to share with you tonight is that this is really about teachers training teachers. So all of the district STEAM coaches throughout the years have been active teachers in either science education or STEAM education. And so we wanted to use this platform, right, to engage teachers in District 20 in a professional learning community that focuses on incorporating the areas of STEAM, which again are science, technology, engineering, arts or architecture, and math, into their curriculum. And by creating this team of coaches, we are able to facilitate and promote problem-solving skills, student inquiry, critical thinking skills, and foster student collaboration with STEAM teachers and their students in our district. During our meetings, teachers collaborate to enhance their knowledge of STEAM and share resources, offer support and guidance, and provide a platform to celebrate our successes within our classrooms. Our goal as STEAM coaches is to provide the opportunity for teachers to, again, train teachers, where all schools practice STEAM skills through project-based learning. STEAM coaches meet once a month to take part in our professional learning community. Teachers participate in hands-on STEAM challenges and activities, which they take back to their classrooms to use with their students. Teachers collaborate to plan ways to integrate STEAM into their curriculum. As you can see in these photos, many of the photographs show these teachers engaging in that work. Teachers complete this work in grade bands, K through 2, 3 through 5, and 6 through 8. During our meetings, we share expectations of the district-wide events that Dr. Uribe shared earlier, and we provide additional resources and opportunities for teachers to collaborate and plan for successful engagement and participation in these STEAM-based events with their students. We also welcome teacher feedback and input to guide our future professional development to support teachers and their students. Thank you so much. Next, we will welcome Miss Diane Corrigan. Oh, I'm sorry, Miss
Andrea Pizzamenti. We have so many talented teachers in District 20. Each month, teachers signed up to shine a spotlight on the amazing work they're doing within their schools and community. As you can see on the picture, here's PS 112, 205, 192. Teachers shared lessons, activities, community partnerships, exciting field trips, products, and educational resources with their colleagues. Next slide. For example, Ms. Lopez from PS 205 shared lesson plans for each grade level she teaches. By using her work as a foundation, I was able to build upon her ideas and make the lesson even more engaging and impactful for my students. Can we see the video? Oh, yes. So here's a video of it. Yep. I see these are some of the events that we work on. This year, our district hosted 3 exciting and successful events. One was the STEAM Expo, which was on February 14th. It showcased various engineering projects and inventions from student teams at each of our district schools. Projects were aligned to various curriculums, including connections to HMH, Amplify, Climate Action, and Sustainability. This event is truly a celebration of the STEAM work that's happening throughout District 20. Students voted on 2 projects to represent District 20 at the Citywide Expo. PS 48, my school was one of them. We also had the 2nd annual Science Showdown held on May 17th, which was designed to create a friendly competition amongst some of our most talented scientists and engineers in District 20. Students were tasked with designing bridges that held the greatest structural efficiency. Bridge strength was tested by the amount of weight the bridge could hold before breaking. Students also participated in a trivia challenge centered around bridges. Another event we did was math games. It was our 2nd math games held on May 30th. Schools created teams of their best math scholars to complete a math competition. Students worked independently and with their team to solve complex problems. Students also designed paper airplanes and tested their planes for the greatest accuracy and furthest distance.
Okay. Our District 20 Excellence in STEAM website showcases the ingenuity of our students and teachers, as well as the projects and events our schools have been involved with over the past years. We created this to highlight the initiatives of the district. If you'd like to learn more about our STEAM initiatives in District 20, please scan the QR code. Oh, where's the QR? Is it not on? Oh. No. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry. And we would like to thank Dr. Preto, our principals and teachers throughout District 20 for their continued support of the STEAM initiative. We want to express our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. O'Brien for his invaluable help and guidance with helping STEAM thrive. His expertise and dedication have been instrumental in the success of our students and the growth of our initiatives. Thank you, Dr. O'Brien, for your invaluable contributions to District 20. Your passion for STEAM shines through in everything you do. We are incredibly lucky to have you on the team. Thank you.
So I want to ask Ms. Corrigan, Ms. Pizmetti, and Ms. Rodriguez to come up. We just wanted to acknowledge them with let's want to go the right one. That's for Marilla. She's not here. Two STEAM coaches who were not able to make it, Marilla Deeb from PSIS 30 and Marissa Carter from PS 102, who unfortunately were not able to make it tonight. But we also want to make sure to acknowledge their dedication and contribution to the STEAM coaches as well, and the support of the district. So Diane,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I just want to note before we conclude the report that one of the pieces of feedback and recommendations from CEC, I want to say two or 3 years ago, oh, hey, Tamara, was around the Science Olympiad and Math Olympiad. Was a suggestion of like, why can't we have a science Olympiad or science competition, math competition? The STEAM coaches were the ones who were able to operationalize it and make it happen. So they're incredibly invaluable in the district. It's a tremendous structure and celebration. And the result of the 5 STEAM coaches is, you know, thousands of children across District 20 being able to engage in science, technology, engineering, architecture, and math projects outside of the core curriculum and more of the project-based learning, real life scenario opportunities. This year in the Science Showdown, it was a bridge building competition. And so many of the children, they did such a good job that so many of the children were able to hit the weight benchmark that we're going to have to make it heavier next year. So next year, we're going to have like a person be able to stand on the bridge in order to like really siphon it down and make it a little bit more rigorous.
What was the weight?
How many
this
pounds?
year?
55 pounds.
So you had multiple bridges that could hold 55 pounds, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yes.
how'd you decide the winning bridge? Did you just keep adding? Okay. Very cool. Awesome.
That concludes my report. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone.
And I want to make one last note. I want to thank principals of all the schools in District 20 for their contributions and dedication to the STEAM initiative, and particularly the principals of PS 48. Colleen Hogan is here this evening, Ms. Pizamenti's principal. I also want to thank Corissa Kenzie from PS 102, Carol Hiraman from PSIS 30, Frank Proudfoot from MS 936, and Brunel Connolly from PS 179 for supporting as well with making these amazing teachers available to support the rest of the district. So I appreciate our principals in supporting STEAM. Thank you.
Okay, our next item on the agenda, vote on the superintendent evaluation. We don't share the contents of that publicly, but I do speak to some of the highlights, and then the CEC just votes. This is an annual process. Every CEC in the city conducts its process for their superintendent. It's designed to take input from CEC members and thoughts on the superintendent's strengths, areas of growth, and then it's submitted to the New York City Public Schools to be used as part of their process of evaluating human resource evaluation process of the superintendents. We have a good review for Superintendent Preto. You know, we talked to a lot of parents contributed to this. A lot of CEC members contributed to this. We think the district is in good shape under his leadership. A few highlights that we just want to point out. If you look at academic assessment scores over the 3 years now, I think that he's been in the role. We've had steady improvements in math and reading each year. We've also are above average citywide on compliance on special education in SETS settings, and I believe in there was SETS settings and one other setting, I think general IEP setting, above average compliance on those. And there's very good in the vast majority of circumstances. We talked to parents, they were pleased with what they had heard from him. We know that he's often makes himself available for us to answer questions and concerns that we have. We know it's can be time consuming at times, and there's a lot of information that comes up, and he's always helpful getting that information. Areas of growth, we just highlight in areas where there's disagreement with him or with district parents, continue to adopt a collegial manner, continue to share his thinking. I find it personally very helpful when I hear more of his thinking as to what he's thinking, as opposed to sort of quick answers that I suspect might not be the sort of a fully thought through answer. And so just continuing to work on when there are things that come up, contentious issues, controversial issues, having an open collegial manner of communicating, even if the answer is not a good one and a good answer can't be given right away. And that's something that I think a lot of us probably can identify with. And I think that was the major area. There's a couple other sort of areas that were suggested to us in the process of doing the review that superintendent has agreed to sort of work on, like continue to work. You know, for everyone who says this communication is good, there's others who think it could be better, and it's always a work in progress. And I think we're on the same page in trying to work on improving that. And yeah, I think those are kind of the highlights for the review. And there's a form that some, well, very few see, we filled it out, but it's a form where there's 3 rankings, unsatisfactory, sort of developing, or satisfactory, and superintendent got satisfactory on those scores. So anyway, that's my summary of the superintendent evaluation. We'll take a moment and see CEC members. Anyone like to motion for a vote? I think we have 7 in person now, so we can vote on it. Perfect. Is there a motion to vote to approve the superintendent evaluation? Well, second?
Second.
Okay, Joyce, can you take a roll call vote, please?
Yes. We're doing a roll call vote on the superintendent evaluation for 2024. Steve Stowe,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Elizabeth, yes. Joyce, yes. Mei Fan, is on that.
Yes.
Okay. Van Ming, yes. Yan Qing, yes. Thank you. Maya is excused. Tamara, yes. Thank you. Kevin,
Yes.
Fabiola,
Yes.
okay, thank you. Sabrina, yeah. Thank you. We got all yes.
Great. Thank you, Joyce. Report of council president. I'm trying to think if there's anything worth mentioning. There's one announcement. We're having tomorrow night a meeting targeted for pre-K parents. If there's any pre-K parents who are interested in learning more about getting involved, they can join our meeting tomorrow night. It's virtual only. I'll be presenting on the different parent organizations in the district and how they can get involved. And I think I think that's all I'll say. Do we want to move to approval of the May meeting minutes?
Do you want to make an announcement for we're gonna funding?
Oh, I do. Yes, that's right. I forgot. Thank you for reminding me, Joyce. And you were saying John did most of the work on that, right? John, did you want to just talk about the work you did with?
Okay.
Okay, Joyce, do you want to talk about the
yeah.
work you guys did?
As a PS1 164 one of the parents, I want to big sense appreciation to the John. Saying this year finally we got the funding from the city council. We've been fighting from at the beginning of this year until I think it's last week. We got a call from the city council's office. We got the funding. So this story say back to the 2022. Our school keep on fighting the funding, but we didn't get from the city council. So it's been back and forth. But the reason why we want to thank John, since John been our school liaison, so work with that school closely and also talk to the city council. So we want to other parent, we want to parents' voice. If parent voice goes strong, we can fight for school together. So we want like school work on a parent. If we school have any issue, when you talk to our liaison person from the CEC 20, then we'll be able to work as a parent together, fight together. So we say teamwork as a make a dream work. So that's nothing impossible. We can together make everything possible.
Yeah, thank you, guys. No, I know you've been involved with both of you involved with this, John, especially for a while now, and finally to get the funding approved was really nice to see. So
Thank you. For
good on the ground work. Yeah.
Thank you for being for us.
Okay, now we can go to approval of the meeting minutes from the May CEC meeting. So as usual, members, please review the minutes, and if you'd like to make any changes, please speak up. Okay, CEC members, any changes to the May calendar meeting minutes? Okay, so hearing none, the minutes are approved. And now we come to our public speaking session. I want to note there's a number of individuals either representing elected officials here, and I'm gonna start. One elected official had to leave, and he asked me, as Assemblyman Lester Chang, he just asked me to say a few things on his behalf, which I'll do. Assemblyman Chang had the following questions related to the class size law. Migrants, does this affect? How is the sort of migrant population in schools being sort of impacting the class size laws? Does the DOE think that this is, is the DOE projecting this to be sort of permanent growth in the population, or potentially temporary? How are they modeling that? This might be a question for Office of District Planning, but I'm just making the comments you wanted me to make. Where is the parent input for class size? And in particular on the area of requesting waivers from schools. Right now, parents don't have any say on whether schools get exemptions from the class size law. It's only the public schools and the UFT and CSA. The discretionary funding, is this 1 year or every year budget? I think it's every year, correct? If it's in the C4E.
C3, so a couple answers. So one, parents and all community members can make comments, suggestions, questions, etc. at the class size at schools.nyc.gov email address. So public comment is taken in, and New York City Public Schools reviews all of that feedback while considering this proposed plan. The contracts for excellence, these happen annually. So every year, the New York City Public Schools has to develop and engage in the public process for developing the contract for excellence at the city level. And within the timelines that are dictated by the state. So at the beginning of the presentation, once the state budget is enacted, the New York City Public Schools has 30 days to develop a draft plan and engage in a presentation on that proposed plan and take feedback from the community. That's what this meeting is. And that meeting has to be posted 15 days in advance of it being held.
Are there enough teachers to be hired to meet the class size law in the district?
So citywide, the city estimates that 10 to 12,000 teachers will need to be hired by the end of the overall plan in order to meet class size law. The class size law is an overall 5-year implementation. So we will be going into year 2 next year. This year was year 1 of the phased implementation. So at this year, the city was at 20%. Next year, the city needs to be at 40%. And currently right now, the city sits at about 40%. It's like 39.7%. So the city anticipates being in compliance to the law for next year. And that's what this plan that I presented on is discussing directly, is just the year 2 plan, which involves all superintendents across the city, including me, to have a plan for making 3% progress towards reducing class sizes by class. And that will be implemented through a range of strategies, including hiring more teachers, but not just by hiring more teachers.
Is it difficult to hire teachers in District 20?
It's not really like a yes or no question, but if I had to go towards one, I would err towards no. It's not difficult to hire teachers in District 20.
Do we receive a lot of teachers who transfer from other districts in other parts of the city because they want to come teach in District 20?
It's so that you're referring to the open market process, which is a process for teachers to be able to transfer between schools. I don't have like hard data on that, and that's something that kind of fluctuates from year to year.
Okay. Do you think, I mean, the 40% compliance rate that you mentioned, this is Assemblyman Chang's question, any expectation of delays in implementing the class size law? And I think what it's touching on is the 40% was always, we've been 40% for years as a city. So that's not really anything that the city has done. The pain hasn't been felt yet. Do you think there'll be a need to delay the law? Or do you think based on the strategies outlined, these targets you've been given as superintendent, that you'll be able to implement the law as it's written?
I can't comment on that.
Yeah.
I know that the city has to lay out year by year what the plan is going to be for the upcoming year.
Yeah.
So what I do know, and this is a combination of not just the limited resources that I have as a superintendent, but also citywide planning, all the different offices from district planning and enrollment and all the other offices, combined with the school construction authority, all were involved in the crafting of this year's plan. So, we'll continue to work with them to figure out what the upcoming year would be.
3% doesn't seem like you're on track to meet the law in 3 years, right? Am I wrong? Like, what am I missing with, if they're asking you to improve 3%, this is compliance on the number of classrooms in compliance with the law, right? And if we're saying like in District 20, your average school is, 90, 70, as a district, 71% of our classes are over the top right now. How does 3% get you in compliance over 3 years? I don't get that math.
All I know is that it ensures that we would be in compliance definitely for the upcoming year.
Right.
So if we're close to 40%, if we make a 3% progress, we'll definitely be, above the 40% threshold next year.
Right.
Moving forward, I'm not a mathematician like the coaches, but I do know that more progress would need to be made to hit 60% the year after. But this plan doesn't address.
Do you know if the 3% is like for example, if I'm saying 71%, regardless of whether you agree or disagree with that number, is it basically saying you have to go from 71% Superintendent Preto to 68%?
More or less, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not a mathematician either, but that math won't work. So I'm not criticizing you necessarily anything you said, David. I'm just pointing out the flaws in the law and the challenges ahead for our district. And actually that was brought up by Assemblyman Chang. Assemblyman Chang also wanted me to share, he's concerned about the state budget. We'll be looking at it. He says a $20 billion deficit next year. And so he just wants to flag the potential for upcoming budget cuts coming from state funding as we're talking about Contract for Excellence. He's concerned about this potential budget shortfall. And he wants to note that if there's any concerns or questions for his office, please call his office and contact his office, and I'll just post that information in the chat. Okay, and then we have a number of other representatives from elected officials, as I mentioned. I think Stanley Ng has left the building. Stanley, if you're online, you're welcome to speak. Otherwise I'll just mention, I always do like to acknowledge, even if they haven't signed up for speaking, I think we have, well, some of them might have signed up, I'm not sure, but I know I've seen City Council member Alexa Avilas's representative, Emerichai Ngati, Stanley Ng, who was here from City Councilwoman Susan Zhuang's office. I see Tony Krupchin from Councilman Justin Brannan's office. I see Imam Ahmed Ali from Assemblyman William Colton's office here with us, and State Senator Iwan Chu, Representative Francis Brown is here and also signed up for speaking. And actually with that, I think we can probably go to Francis because she's next on the list for, oh, actually, 1 second, please. You didn't? Yeah. Okay. Before we begin with the public speaking, I just want to give Superintendent Preto a chance to make a statement.
No, I thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the feedback on the evaluation. From last May's CEC meeting, there was a request from the larger community for my position on comments that were made by meeting attendees during the May meeting. So I wanted to just give this statement in response and a request to those. So in response to comments made at last month's CEC meeting by some meeting visitors, I just wanted to clarify first, my role as superintendent at CEC meetings. So at CEC meetings as superintendent, I serve as a liaison between the Chancellor of New York City Public Schools and all the schools with the Community Education Council. I represent the schools, the principals, staff, parents, students of all District 20 schools. And while I'm present at every meeting, I am a guest and I do not represent, or I don't endorse or condone comments made by meeting visitors in the public session. The contents of the superintendent report are the material that I'm directly responsible for at these meetings. The safety and well-being of every student and staff member is my #1 priority. Regarding concerns about inappropriate public comments made by meeting visitors, District 20 in New York City Public Schools has a zero tolerance policy for bias and discrimination against the LGBTQI community, and we reject all forms of hate. Hateful rhetoric towards any group has no place in our schools or amongst parent leaders. Our goal and responsibility is to ensure every single student in our schools feels safe and welcomed. In New York City, this includes actual or perceived race, color, creed, ethnicity, national origin, citizenship or immigration status, religion, gender, gender identity, gender expression, sexual orientation, disability, or weight. This includes our transgender youth. District 20 stands strongly behind the New York City Public Schools 2019 gender guidelines. All students have the right to have their gender, gender identity, and gender expression recognized and respected. All means all in District 20. It's how we do it here. I also wanted to address the circulation of hate by parents on social media. There's been outreach to me directly about this concern. The district nor I do not govern social media interactions amongst parents. However, we have clear guidelines on social media use for students and staff. Students are held accountable for their actions on social media when it violates Chancellor's regulations, and we teach them not to distribute, post, and most importantly, adopt hateful ideas posed through memes and other messaging that is intended to denigrate groups of people and transmit simplistic ideas that create division. When students engage in attacks on social media, they are held accountable through disciplinary action. We also use restorative practices to teach them how their actions create harm, no matter what their stated intent was for posting hateful material directed at either an individual or a group of people. We inform students that their actions online are not only their actions, but in some cases hold consequences for the person who holds the account of the device they are posting from. We teach students how to understand the others in their community so that they can be productive members of that community that promotes safety and inclusivity, not divisiveness and hate. I hope and I urge all of our parents to do the same. We work to model for our children, and I urge parents to be the model they wish for their children, both in person and online. I recommend to all parents, just as we do with students, that they closely consider how their social media activity will be perceived by the broader school community and consider both the intended and unintended consequences. I also urge all parents, just as we do with students, to adopt a message of inclusivity, as that is what we promote here in our schools in District 20. Thanks for letting me make the statement.
Thank you, David. And I'll just make a quick statement of my own. After, as many know, after the CEC meeting in May, there were a number of public statements made regarding some of the public speakers that night, and specifically the CEC's role. I'm going to speak as the president of the CEC, who's responsible for moderating the public speaking session. In my role as CEC president, it is incumbent upon me to run the public speaking portion of our meeting guided by the following legal principles. Public meetings are established under the New York State Open Meeting Law. CEC 20 bylaws include a public speaking session. Freedom of speech is protected per the First Amendment of the Constitution. As written, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Free speech is strongly protected under U.S. case law. There's a narrow set of situations and speech may be limited. For example, imminent physical harm or an imminent incitement to break the law. However, in most cases, speech is protected, including in situations when a listener may find such speech hateful or offensive. I appreciate Superintendent Preto referencing that the meeting is run by the CEC. I also want to point out that allowing public speakers does not mean the CEC either agrees or disagrees with any of the public speakers. Thank you. And now we can move on to our public speaking session for the night. And let's see if I think we'll prioritize in-person speakers as we typically do. Yeah, just so if there's anyone in person. I see we have Steve Mahoney here in person. Steve, did you want to speak? And anyone who's in person speaking, please come to the microphone.
A 8-year-old child in the District 75 school, PS 36 at 192. I want to comment on remote learning. My feeling is that remote learning has a disparate impact on our District 75 children. It's not a viable means to deliver mandated services to our children. The Chancellor and the DOE aren't concerned with the quality of education, only the quantity, i.e. state law, 180 school days. Where is the data that was utilized to measure the effectiveness of this means of delivery? In the reading program the Chancellor implemented, they pointed to the data showing how effective it was. During COVID, the DOE said, trust the science. Well, then I ask you, show me your research and science data concerning remote learning. I can show you the compensatory services and the seed services that were offered to children that had regression during that year and more. My son is still receiving compensatory services for the negative impact of it. Unfortunately, District 75 parents and students are at a disadvantage for organizing and advocating and are mostly bused to the schools, and it's difficult to network. This is kind of unlike PSIS 686, as we witnessed here, that got a waiver to the Chancellor's reading program because of their ability to organize. Once again, District 75 children were kind of hamstrung. And as a parent, instead of remote learning, let's have some makeup sessions or an exception for our District 75 children. And that's just something that I would ask District 20, because it really doesn't seem that that gets put. I would tell the Chancellor myself, but I'm still waiting when he was here at our town hall meeting for an email address that Ms. Porter had, and I could email her. Well, how about our Chancellor? Give me the email and I'll send it to him myself. But if I don't have the email as I requested, how am I supposed to do that? So then I asked our District 20 board on my behalf, our District 75 leader on our behalf, send that to him. Let's see some data. How did they measure the quality of, or is it once again, all we care is quantity? The school bell rings 180 days and these children get robbed of that services, their speech, their PT, and their education in general. I want to thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Our next in-person speaker, I believe, is Alina Lewis.
Hi, I think you guys all recognize me by now. My name is Alina Lewis, and I'm a BSI parent with 2 children at the school. I have been attending CEC 20 meetings regularly since June of 2023, when BSI families came to express their concerns about HMH, the literacy curriculum selected by Superintendent Prado and mandated K-8 district-wide. Since then, we've been a constant presence at CEC meetings with students, parents, and teachers coming to testify. After a full year of such advocacy, BSI will be preserving and building upon its inquiry-based literacy curriculum, which is aligned to our progressive mission and has proven to be highly successful, and most importantly, best serves our students. On behalf of the BSI community, we want to express our thanks to District 20 CEC members, all of you sitting right here, and President Stowe for making space for this public conversation, and in particular for supporting our student speakers. We're incredibly proud of the civic engagement, advocacy, bravery, and eloquence demonstrated by our students. Their actions demonstrate what we hope a quality public education can achieve for all, engaged citizens who think critically and use literacy towards self and societal transformation. While the CEC is an imperfect solution to a flawed school governance structure that does not give local communities enough power, it is still a very important space for families and communities to voice concerns. And we appreciate the work that you all do to make sure this forum is organized and accessible for all community members. We also wish to thank Councilwoman Susan Schwang and Assemblyman William Colton for their support and their tireless commitment to education in D20. We will continue to advocate for community voice in district-wide decisions regarding literacy practices. It is our hope that parents, teachers, and school communities are meaningfully engaged at the district level so that every school can enact literacy practices that are responsive to their students' unique identities, strengths, and needs. So again, on behalf of BSI, thank you CEC 20 members and President Stowe for hearing our students speak throughout this year. We really appreciate all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. And our next, yep, I saw that. I was just looking. Yep, next in-person speaker, Michelle Magnus.
Hello. I can only hope to advocate like Alina does, but not really prepared when I came last minute here. But so I'm Michelle Magnus. I'm the co-president of the PS 185 PTA. This last week, we found out our NI after school program was accepted as the proposal, but hasn't been approved for the budget. So we currently have no free option for after school for next year as of now. So we're kind of just looking for support in your advocacy for any senator or state senator or local council member for their support. I believe there's some other schools in our district that also lost their funding. I know we're not a high-low income community, but we still have 30%. We do have 2 working class families in our community that rely on this free after-school program. So I'm here just really to get your support and your advocacy behind bringing back a free program and option for our students. It's really important to us and what they provide. So that's all I have for today. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe Jennifer Kruger, are you in person as well?
I am too tall for this. I'm gonna hold it in my hand. Is that okay? So my name is Jen Kruger. I've lived in Bay Ridge all my life. I've been a parent coordinator in another district and recently returned after 5 years, and now I'm working as a PC in this district. I raised my kids in District 20. They both attended District 20 elementary and middle schools. I work in a District 20 elementary school. Before my boys were D20 students, I went to 102, to McKinley, and to Fort Hamilton. So I have loved District 20 and the education available in this district since I was little. I was disappointed by some of the events of last month's meeting, and I feel like District 20 didn't necessarily show our best. We did see some folks demonstrating unkindness, which is really just not in keeping with, I would like to say, the spirit of the wonderful District 20. It's unclear whether the folks who were speaking here last month were D20 parents, whether they actually represented our district, but I was sad. And I was very, very happy to hear Dr. Preto's remarks tonight. I would like to thank you for that. But further than that, I just want to raise up my fellow District 20 parents, parents serving on this board, parents in this room. All of us are fellow parents. We're all fellow neighbors. We are all of this community. Everyone here has chosen to dedicate hours and hours, month after month, serving as representatives, serving as parent advocates, serving on PTAs, working in the public schools. And I just want to raise that up, and I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Dr. Preto and also Dr. O'Brien for your presence at these meetings. Dr. Preto, your active visitor participation in these monthly CEC meetings is really helpful. I will say both as somebody working in the schools, but also as a recent parent in the schools. As you mentioned earlier, these aren't your meetings, but your presentations are always extraordinarily informative. They're chock full of useful information that I definitely take back with me and share with parents at my school. I want to thank Bill Chin, Sylvia Jasinski for being here month after month. Thank you to the electeds and their reps who show up every month. And I gotta say, with all those phenomenal partners, I feel good about District 20 and our ability to continue to shine in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else who signed up in person or would like to speak in person, I just want to make sure there's none. Yeah, go ahead, sir. What's your name?
David Rem.
David Rem. Oh, you're in person. Okay.
I'm a little ignorant, excuse my ignorance, on the class size reduction because my child is out of all the New York City public schools. She was a public school student from kindergarten to 12th grade at Stuyvesant. Now she's in Harvard. That's not what's important. But when did this class size reduction go into effect? Or is this still to be voted on before I can preference my speaking? Okay.
This year is the first year of a 5-year phase-in requirement.
Okay.
So this year we were required to be 20% in compliance with the law. So 20% of the classrooms across New York City had to be in compliance with the law.
Like individual class by class. Next year, 40% of the individual classes across the city will have to be in compliance, and moving up 20% every year.
And that you spoke about the 3% being in compliance for next year?
So the city is currently in this first year at 40%. And next year, all superintendents, including me, will have a target of an additional 3% of classrooms meeting the class size law.
Okay, and when my daughter was a student from K to 12th grade at Stuyvesant, she had approximately 34 people in every class. Can you tell me approximately how many children are in the elementary school class size now, and middle school and high school?
Class size caps right now that are significantly higher. So in kindergarten, it's at 25.
So it's significantly reduced from when my child.
So it'll go from, in kindergarten, it will go from 25 to 20. And then in first grade and up, first grade, it's 30. And 32, I'm sorry, I'm used to Title I schools. Title I schools have a cap of 30 and non-Title I schools have a cap of 32.
And that's high school?
That's from first grade up.
So what is high school, specifically high school?
Is it 36? I don't supervise high schools. Yeah, no problem.
My name is David Rem, and I'm a father.
I'm so sorry. One thing, David. You don't know. So
Oh, well.
you have about a minute left.
Class size reductions in New York City is a disgrace, and it's specifically aimed to decimate the specialized high schools. The 8 gems of specialized high schools should not be reduced in space. You have failing students all through the grades. You have more than 60% can't read or write when they graduate without New York City high school diploma. It's disgraceful. Getting rid of the regions, reducing class size is specifically meant to reduce the amount of brilliant children that are allowed into those 8 gems of specialized high schools. You had a former chancellor, Richard Carranza, who was a racist individual. We ran him out of town. We got him a better job in Texas. And people, wake up. Don't believe these people. They have ulterior motives. New York is the highest paying, highest per child, $33,000 a year is spent on education. And we are number, I think, 26 in the world now. It's a disgrace. Fix the bad schools and leave the gems alone. This is ridiculous. Education in the, thank you very much.
Just a quick response to clarify. The class size law and any decisions on the regions are from New York State. Okay, gotcha.
So that's everyone in person who would like to speak, right? Okay. So we'll go online. Francis Brown. Francis, are you still there? Would you like to speak?
Can you hear me? Okay. Hi, my name is Francis. I'm here on behalf of Senator Ewen Chu. The New York State session ended at the beginning of June, so we are now in the process of doing allocations. Last year, Senator Chu was proud to give about $1 million to school district 20 to about 15 schools. This year we're hoping to give even more. We're working through the numbers now with close collaboration with Dr. Preto. If you guys need anything, please let us know. And if you have any comments on that, please let us know. We're also aware of the NIA issue, NIA and FIO both having issues with the funding, and we're looking into that as well currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Tony is off. Next speaker we have is Paulette Healy.
Hi, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Okay, I see some nods. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Preto. It's wonderful to hear strong leadership for District 20 from our superintendent's office, and that you will stand with our families and saying, you know, no to homophobic, transphobic rhetoric. All of our children deserve to be here and deserve to feel safe in the communities that they grew up in, including my own children. And I appreciate your statements. I wanted to reiterate what Jen Kruger had said. It was very disturbing to listen to all of that hurtful speech in the main meeting. And I know that other CEC members on this panel right now also felt very hurt and confused and conflicted about how they felt and how they felt unsafe. And I'm sorry, Mr. Stowe, but you hold some responsibility of that. You are not allowed to hide behind the First Amendment to say that you have no hand in preventing the harm that actually happens in this space. You chair this meeting. You can control who gets to speak and who doesn't get to speak. And in previous meetings, you have shut down people who had xenophobic comments, anti-Asian comments. You had no problem shutting that down. However, when people came in outside of our district to talk about our children and the fact that they didn't deserve to be respected, seen, or exist, you had control over that. So utilize that. You have responsibility to your members, to this community, and to the children of this district. That being said, I just wanted to amplify that on June 18th at Good Shepherd's Church, People's Budget will be holding a town hall to talk about the cuts that are impacting our schools, including community after-school programs and pre-K programs. That is from 6 to 8 at Good Shepherd. I will make sure that I put the link to register in the chat. For those who are talking about looking for funding for your after-school programs, for 3K programs, for other things like Summer Rising, definitely come and attend that meeting. We are campaigning to make sure that these are baseline funding for our schools so that we don't have to struggle every year to beg for these critical services and programs. Lastly, I just wanted to amplify that $20 million was allocated to Summer Rising. I know you had DYCD come to the meeting earlier in the year. However, that was prior to this new flux of income being put towards Summer Rising. We don't know how that's going to be spent or how that's going to affect our schools. We reached out to principals to find out whether they will now be able to extend their Summer Rising programs, and they have no guidance either. So DYCD will be coming to the Community Board 10 meeting on June 20th. That's going to be held at the Bay Ridge Center from 6 to 8. So if you are available, please come by so that you can ask the same questions that I have about how this $20 million is going to affect Summer Rising right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Meg Ray. Meg, are you online? And
yes, can you hear me? Thank you. First, I just want to thank Dr. Preto for standing with my child and our family. That means a lot, and I really appreciate it. I was really excited to hear about the STEAM coach program, especially the peer professional learning. And I was just curious if that program also addresses the computer science and digital literacy standards. And if not, if there are other ways that the district is supporting our schools in meeting those standards or addressing AI literacy.
Speaker, are you finished?
Yep, it was just a question.
Okay. Our next speaker is Carolina Thomas from Senator Andrew Gennardis's office.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be a speaker. I just wanted to let you know that the office was here.
Okay.
But I mean, this goes out saying if anyone, can you not hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Carolina.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't mean to be put on the speaker list, and sorry, my camera's off, but I guess this goes without saying, if anyone needs anything, please feel free to contact the senator's office and we are here to help. So have a nice night, guys.
Okay, thank you.
I think when Meg Ray spoke, she had a question.
Yeah, typically we don't do public speaking. We typically don't do back and forth. There's sort of some exceptions, certain exceptions, but typically that's not the way it works. And that's not the way we're going to do tonight. But we can follow up and
Yeah, and one thing
I
I can say, I think one of the questions that
Ray had was regarding the alignment that the work that the STEAM coaches were doing was aligned to next generation science standards or computer science standards. I know that the coaches in the design of some of the projects were mindful of the next generation science standards specifically. The projects that the children work on by guidance of the teachers is more around the engineering design process. So they're more creating and inventing, which is attributed to the standards, but not like aligned to like a specific content standard, if that makes sense. And I would, but I can definitely get more information from the coaches and provide like a more robust response at the next meeting.
Psychologist. Okay. Just double checking. I think, Kevin, is that it for speaking? Yeah. Okay. So that concludes our public speaking session. Is there a motion to adjourn the calendar meeting? Yeah, go ahead, Tamara.
Okay. I want to thank you, Dr. Preto, for what you said, because after last month's meeting, I left, okay, because I did not like what was being said. As a person and as a parent who has children in the LGBTQ and trans community, it's already hard enough for me to navigate teaching my children how to love themselves and accept themselves. For somebody that does not live in our community to come in and said the things that they said, okay? I was visibly hurt and I did not feel safe in that space last month. And I want to thank you and your staff for comforting me because of how upset I was. I want to thank Principal Jane Marie Kapnisakis and her staff for really being mindful and being there for me when I needed it, all right? Because I was visibly upset. I was upset. I was crying for days after, okay? And I want to let you know that those words that were said, that was spoken at that meeting, was traumatic. As somebody who has lost people that have committed suicide because of this stuff, it hits so deep in your soul, it's unbearable, okay? And as adults who teach children how to be kind, we need to do better. If you don't have nothing nice to say, keep it to yourself, okay? You do not come to a committee or a community and traumatize people that are already dealing with problems, okay? It was unkind, okay? It was just wrong. And I need to say that because it's taking me a lot to even come to this meeting tonight, especially because this month is Pride Month. Okay? And I have to navigate that every day with my children. Okay, so I want to thank you for your statement. I want to thank the elected officials who stood behind our families for their statement, okay, because it means something. And we need people to understand how our children feels because we need to save our kids. We're losing our kids to this stuff. And we need to do better. So thank you for that.
I think I'm just checking with one more individual who might want to speak. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the June calendar meeting?
Oh, sure. I just wanna speak out in support of Steve Stowe because like a lot of CECs, they're not like this. They don't let people talk as long as he does. So maybe there was mistakes made in the last meeting, but I don't think he anticipated. And I don't think any of us on the CEC anticipated because I feel like sometimes we get personally attacked, but we don't agree with some of these.
Speakers, but we don't say anything. We just let you speak. But obviously mistakes were made the last meeting. So next time he will know to stop people if they're saying hateful stuff. So I'm just saying, yeah, Steve, thank you for letting people speak. Thank you.
That's what I want to say.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Any other? Fine. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn the CEC June calendar meeting?
I say motion that? Or just?
Right, is there a second? All in favor? Yes. Any opposed? Okay, the June calendar meeting is adjourned. We will start I think we can start our business meeting immediately after this.